Welcome to People Are Everything, the show where I ask my guests, who are the 5 people that have shaped the person you are today? And today we have Dror Allouche. Dror, well, what can I say? Multilingual, multifaceted, multi-talented. Born and raised in, I think, Switzerland, or maybe, I don't know if he was born in Switzerland. He's been everywhere. He speaks multiple languages, super fascinating guy. And the thing that comes through in this conversation more than anything is the word mastery. I don't meet people very often who like to master things. I'm a bit of a generalist myself, but Dror really is hardwired to master the things that he takes on. Could be karate, which he did, continues to do so, languages, and in business as well. So I think you're going to really like this one. He's a fascinating character. We cover a lot of ground in terms of his 5 people. And yeah, I learned a lot. And look out for one particular phrase that might just change your life. Oh, to be honest, I'm just going to tell you. His dad, I think, said something like, I live my life like the next 30 minutes are going to be better than the last. I love that. Anyway, look out for it. It's a wonderful conversation. Enjoy Dror Allouche. Hello, Dror. Welcome to People Are Everything. How are you, first of all?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you
well,
for having me.
oh, it's a pleasure. I think you might be my first Swiss person. You are Swiss, aren't you? Have I got that right?
That's already starting with a good question. I'm also Swiss. I'm having a triple nationality. So I was born in Switzerland,
Yeah.
but I left Switzerland when I was a baby, 3 months old. So I had no culture, no link to Switzerland. And I grew up in France, where I studied and I lived a big part of my life there. And 11 years ago, I came back to Switzerland for business reason. I was working for an international company and they offered me to take the Swiss subsidiary. They didn't know I was Swiss, so they thought I need a permit or whatever, and then I had a passport, which was making the things much better. And my name come from Israel, so Dror is an Israeli name. So I'm a very international person.
And you speak like a mad amount of languages, don't you? How many languages do you speak?
So I speak Hebrew, I speak French, I speak a bit of English, I speak German, a bit of German, and I speak a bit of Italian. So
I'm very impressed. You'll be great to go to dinner with, because mostly everything you'll be able to order in the local language or the intended language. So I think that would be a really good
I
benefit.
love Italian food. So
But listen, I'm really excited about this conversation, and I am going to confess from the beginning that I'm going to take advantage of you today, in the sense that your philosophy. I mean, there's much we can talk about in terms of who you are and what you're all about, and we will do that in a moment. But I'm very selfishly going to grill you on some of your philosophies around money.
yes,
It seems to be coming up for me a lot in this podcast. I don't know if you know a guy called Bogomil Baranowski.
no,
He has this amazing web podcast called Talking Billions,
okay,
and I'm like, I don't know. I know that I've come very late to the party with this idea that money buys you financial freedom. I just didn't think about it. I guess I thought I'm going to work till I'm 103 and it'd be fine, because, what else is there to do? And I love being productive, etc. But I know deeply rooted in your investment thesis when you were younger, how you've approached your work life, and I really want to get into this. You decided very young that you were going to make sensible investments and lifestyle choices that will give you financial freedom. And I am fascinated by that, because I think I've done the exact opposite. I think I've spent everything too early. And now I'm going, oh dear, I'm running out of time. So, but listen, it is a subject I want to cover with you. So I hope you don't mind sharing some of that. And maybe before we get into how you think and these kind of philosophies, if you could just do a little summary of who you are professionally and otherwise for our listeners here.
So I came from a corporate career where I grew up inside one company, an international company, not a huge one, 6,000 people. And I grew from first job to executive position. So I have a very, very nice and exciting career where I learn a lot, I earn a lot. It was a great career. And in the same time, I knew that I wanted to do something different, also linked to my philosophy of financial freedom. I had at that time, I had a young family. Now my children are 12 and 16. So maybe they would start to tell me, you can go again on travel and out of the house. But at that time, I was thinking it would be great if I can also uh, do other things that only working. So when I was 46, I decided to start a new career around coaching. And that's what I'm doing right now it's already my 4th year. And I'm an executive coach, mostly for aspiring C-level and existing C-level. And I'm doing two things, traditional coaching, I call that trust advisor, which on top of it, a leadership improvement specificity. That's what I'm doing. We can maybe dig later on it, but I will be happy to start with you with the topic of financial freedom. It's linked also to this choice of my actual career, which is the executive coaching.
Well, I think this sort of feels to me like there's three intersections. There's your philosophy of money and life, how that might impact your coaching message, and the fact that you've decided that this part of your life you're going to dedicate to coaching. So there are actually three different moving parts there.
Yeah.
So let's start with you as a young man. I mean, having the foresight what I read about you is this idea of, I think I read something like, have your expenditure, earn as much as you can, and everything in between, anything left, invest it for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know why that passed me by as a concept, but it seems so obvious. Like, it is rooted in your philosophy, isn't it? It's this idea of, have some ambition for life, for achievement, but not necessarily a material overstretch. Don't overstretch yourself in terms of material items, because the most important thing is buying yourself time. And this is the key tenet I want to talk about, because I'm 56 this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just woken up. Yeah, and I've just woken up to the fact that, oh goodness, like I'm supposed to retire in like 10 years by most people's standards, and I haven't even thought about it, because in my head I'm still 25. So it's really rushing up to me as a concept now. I'm really having to think about time versus financial stability. It's really becoming a big thought in my head. But I can't imagine having the foresight when I was young to be that long-term thinking. So where did you get that influence from? Was it from people in your life? Was it your parents? Was it friends? Was it just how you're made? Where did you get that? Where did you get that instinct from?
So maybe at first it came to me with this idea of I was seeing my parents having a great life, but still struggling for money. Maybe I had this trigger to say, okay, I would love to have a great life, those adventure, and in the same time, not worry about money. And very young, I started to develop the idea. Maybe that's influenced by my father, who saw that life is not only working, but I was thinking I will stop working quite early. In my head, it was 40 years old. But I have evaluated a lot about this idea. Like, for example, in my corporate career, I continue it. And it was because it was so interesting that it was not even a question about, oh, now I'm 40, maybe it's the time. It was very interesting. So I had no idea to stop it. And when you started the podcast, you said, now I see that I need to work until 103. I see myself, the way I evaluate on that one is that I see myself always working. Doing what I love to do could be monetized, and I don't see any reason to stop, because it will bring me satisfaction at any age. I have one of my mentor in coaching is Marshall Goldsmith. So I have the chance to be trained by him, and he's now 77, I trust, something like that. And he has so much energy, and he's still working. He does what he wants to do, but he still works. And I think it brings
Yeah.
in a lot in his life, and it brings a lot to the life of others. Like he taught me coaching at a very advanced age. I think I'm in contact with him for 10 years. So I started to know him maybe when he was 67, and he was very active. So the idea of continuing working on things we love, it's really an idea now for me, which is obvious. I will still continue working potentially until my last day, but on things I really want to do.
I guess that would I'm glad you clarified that, and maybe I should have done that at the beginning, which is you stepped off the corporate ladder very young.
Mhm.
I think you were in your early 40s when you said, I don't want to do that anymore.
Mhm.
And now I'm going, but because you created an element of financial freedom by
Yes.
design,
Yes.
and I come back to that foresight point, by design,
Mm.
you had got yourself into a situation where you could make those choices. You have the freedom to make a choice.
Yes.
And I think this is the crux of it for me, because I'm so different with regards to my children and my expectation for them. But I was one of those kids that had loads of little jobs from the age of, I don't know, 13, 14. I left home at 16 and I've never done anything else other than work. I don't understand the idea of not getting off this little hamster wheel that I'm on.
Mm.
But I look at my children. Oh, that's my dog, by the way. She always makes an appearance. I look at my children and I wish for them the freedom to make different choices, because I hope that I can give them some little bit of financial stability, or at least inspire them in that way, so that they can choose what they spend their time on. As opposed to, in my mindset, I'll just keep going with a paycheck
Mm.
until the day I kind of keel over, probably. So I guess I'm really and again, many people have got to this much sooner than me, so I do realize I'm behind. But this idea of taking that time v money evaluation
Mm.
and really genuinely thinking about what's the trade-off.
Yes.
When is enough? I mean, I know you talk a lot about when is enough.
Mm.
When is enough enough? Materially, success-wise, financially, these are kind of big thoughts that are running through my head now, because I realize I haven't actually made a plan draw. So I'm hoping we can make one today. Would that be all right? But, I just feel like these are big questions that, people really need to think about.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
In what you just said, I love into the education part, the idea of letting our children working to understand the value of money and the effort and all the things, I think is crucial. In
Yeah.
the same time, I think them to see that there is not only one path, and the path is not only the traditional one, and it's important to think by design how we create our freedom. And
Mm.
freedom really, I mean, it's completely linked. If we are too much the more we are materialistic, the more it's difficult to create this financial freedom. The more we understand that material is not, it's just a spark of joy, and maybe for the long term, it's not the most important part.
Yeah.
The more it becomes not even difficult to say, okay, where I spend my money and how I spend it.
Hmm. I imagine your priorities do change as your children grow. The time with them is important.
Mm.
And you mentioned travel at the beginning. I imagine that's now in your mind of, they don't need me so much now. These kids of mine, they are off doing their thing. Maybe I can sneak away for a city break, or go and do something pleasurable for myself. So it's like, I think that to me is what the trade-off would be. I'm like you, as like this podcast, for example. I would love to keep doing this for as long as I can. I have many ambitions to do certain things. I often say it's not enough. There's never enough time to do the things that I want to do. But I never really intentionally thought about the money time trade-off. So that's the reason I'm focusing on it with you, because I know it's such a big feature. And then let's just talk quickly then about the pivoting to coaching. Is this message part of your coaching, your actual coaching philosophy? Are you helping high achieving people to prioritize this kind of thing, to think about this stuff? Is that
So
a feature?
yeah, so at the beginning, then I made few interview in some very specialized blog post around this financial freedom. There is a big movement called FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early,
Mm-hmm.
where there is a big community around this movement. And I've been interviewed inside those things. So I started to have people who were interested by financial freedom. Uh, but right now, going more and more into this, the coaching part, I find more and more the people I want and love to work with. And I'm more oriented around this, helping people to succeed into their actual career. It
Okay.
could be, I call that the personal project. I really believe that a leader, even though he wants to continue inside his career, he is stronger when he has developed financial freedom. Because
Yeah.
financial freedom means completely different things for different people. For some people, it's just to have 2 years of advance in their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
On other, it's having enough money that their money will cover all their expenses.
Yeah.
So there could be different definition of it. The main things why I believe so it could be part sometime of discussion, because I believe that being financial free makes you a better leader. Inside company, inside corporation, you are you're often obliged, or you do things you don't believe in, or so when you are financially free, you can be more
Yeah.
vocal about what you believe, defend it, because you have nothing to lose. If it goes, if there is really something that does not work, then you can step out.
Yeah.
And so that gives you a freedom of speaking, which is a very important one. So I believe, and by the way, that's helping your career, because your bosses won't have a lot of people like you, people who will tell
The truth.
what they
Yeah.
believe true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they won't have so many people. So you will you will get out of competition very quickly, because you will be one of the only one to speak what he believes.
I think that's really interesting. Because again, going back to when I mentioned Bogomil earlier, he said that our relationship with money starts very young. And I grew up with two kind of key influences, and they're sort of similar, and it might explain some of my own personal behaviors. But I remember my first boss, he had this philosophy of, I mean, he actually told us once in a sales meeting, and it was one of my first sales jobs. I was, as I say, about 18 years old, my first proper office job. And I remember him standing up and saying, I absolutely spend to the maximum of my credit card each month.
Mm.
And then that drives me to hit my sales goals
Yes.
so I can pay that back. I create self-imposed pressure.
Yes. Yeah.
And the culture of that business was very much like that. It was like spend first, earn it back through self-imposed pressure. And that somehow went into my body. And certainly through my 20s, I was a bit like that. You know, I had the fast cars and the big lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. I really got on board with that principle. And yet the opposite is true of my actual upbringing, which was incredibly financially poor. And when I say poor, I mean not having basic provisions for like food or clothing and things like that. And my dad really didn't understand money at all. And he had lots of they call them county court judgments in the UK. We had a lot of county court judgments against him. And the thing I learned there was, whatever you do, don't get into financial trouble properly, because really bad things can happen to you. But somewhere in the middle of these would have been the right thing. I should have just taken a more middle path, which is save for the long term, enjoy the lifestyle that you can afford today, but make sure there's a surplus. And I love the idea of being the one person in a room that will say the truth, because they don't have the additional burden of having to think, well, I can't lose my job. I have to toe the line, otherwise I'll be in big trouble. And the only last thing I'll say about that, Dror, is I think I've been the sort of person that's had the attitude of that, in the sense of I always feel like I'll always do something. So I never worry about employment. So I do feel like I'm somebody who will stand up and say the right thing if I believe in it. But it's never been through a place of financial comfort. And I love what you're saying there, is that if you create a financial stability for yourself, it leads to much better behaviors and incentives. So that's, again, obvious to a lot of people listening, but to me, quite new.
I think we all, like a lot of things. I often when I speak about leadership, I say leadership is a very practical thing. I've never met someone who do not understand the leadership concept. We all understand that. Like, for example, I was 18, I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was irked by start first to understand, then to be understood. We all understand it, but to apply it, it's a different story.
Yeah.
And 36 years after, I have time where I don't succeed to apply it. So it means we all understand things. The difficulty is to apply and to have the discipline. So, and for me, coming back to this difference in between spending the money and getting to financial, there is thousands of ways to get to financial independence. My way was always, so you can save and you can earn more. I believe saving, there is a limitation of it. So, and I don't want to be in a situation where I have to save for everything. There are people who goes to these routes. I think one of the danger is that they put their life aside for a period of time because they save everything. That was not at all my philosophy. I believe in experience. Experience create memories that we can. So I will, with the family, we never count about when we want to live an experience. And I believe in growing. We can grow the revenue part. So taking more risk in your career, that's why also I had a career in the corporate path is accepting more risk, taking more responsibility, bring you to a better revenue side. If you can increase your revenue and if you can spend wisely, in things that will remain for your entire life, everything which is linked to memory, then it's become quite easy. You don't need really all the flashy things. You need the important things. You know what is important for you, and the rest is an investment part.
Yeah.
And if you have any question about the investment philosophy, etc., we can dig a bit inside as you want.
Well, listen, I do, as a business leader myself, I've been a CEO 3 times, and I understand very deeply the responsibility of leadership. And I also understand, fiscal responsibilities and this idea of everything you've just mentioned from a business context of, improve sales and be very cost conscious. That is kind of, I don't know, almost at the expense of thinking about it for myself. I think that is part of the problem. I've focused so much on growing businesses. And I'm quite idealistic as well, Dror, which I need to stop being as well. Lastly then, before we get into the 5, what do you have to say about, you said earlier about your children valuing themselves and understanding value of money and time and stuff. Again, one thing I've super struggled with all these years is I tend to give a lot of my time to people, and I don't charge them anything. I feel almost slightly awkward about it. And yet I know it's not right. I know I should value my time more, and certainly my expertise and wisdom needs to be paid for. But again, I think I have got a strange relationship with money. I don't really like it. I feel awkward about it. I feel like accumulation of it doesn't feel like the right thing to do. But speaking to you now, speaking to Bogomil, other people I've met on this podcast, I'm starting to see money far more positively as like energy, or I think I used it once as an idea of calories. You need calories to function. And I know I've got a lot to offer the world in terms of capability and all kinds of natural sort of and gifted qualities. And the thing I forgot to think about was if I had more money, I would have more freedom and time to do the things that I'm naturally able to do.
Yeah.
And that's the aha moment for me was, oh, I've been allergic to amassing money because I felt it was non-idealistic. It wasn't the right thing to do. But actually, I should be more focused financially, and then I can do more of the things that I'm naturally capable of doing. So again, I'm late to the party, Dror. I'm sorry about this.
No, I've heard you saying that often. I will challenge this idea. Is, getting to your financial freedom, there is as many people as way to get to it. So it's never too late. You can find a lot of ways to put that as it become important for you, to make it a priority. And it's never too late. You were mentioning 103 to continue to work.
Yeah,
You have
true.
so
I've
many
got a few
years in
years.
front. Yeah, you have so many years in front of you.
You know,
And that's interesting. Like, you have a very important corporate career. Also, you were CEO and other things. And there was a very good book came out of my mind now, where there's a parallel in between our ability to be good inside the corporate world. So we know how to budget, we know how to prepare our 3-year plan, we know a lot of things. But then the same strategy could be applied to part of our life. And for many reasons, we don't do it. So it's like we have the skills to do it for all the businesses we work for, and we don't apply it to our personal life. And there are a lot of concepts around strategy which could be applied to your personal life. I will send you the link to this book where you make a real parallel in between our competency and skills in the corporate world that we do not use in our personal life.
Oh, I'd love to have that. And I'm really hoping anyone listening now is going, gosh, I'm glad Julia's asked all these questions, because I want to ask them too, and hear Dror's answer, because I like to think I'm not alone in this kind of awakening of what's important. But listen, first of all, I always like to ask my guests before we get into the 5 people you've chosen. And I'm imagining someone like with your way of being has taken a very methodical, thoughtful, and probably some kind of science behind the 5 people you've chosen. But I don't know. I'm guessing that that's the case. So, but how did you come up with your 5? What process did you go through?
No, I love to brainstorm, and I use so I'm not I don't use a lot of tools, or I'm not a fan of the technology, but there are some tools and technology I use for years. And mind mapping, for example, is something I'm using for years. So when you offer me to come to the podcast, I listened to one of your podcasts and I understood the concept. And I did something very simple. Okay, who could be my 5 people? And I just listed a lot of people, and then I reorganized it, and I tried to make the 5 most important ones. I'm not sure I will succeed, and I even have more than 5 I look in front of me, but at least I try to think about it and to put the process in place. But the brainstorm part is a really big part of what I'm doing every day for many topics.
Well, I think I was right then, because I have had people on here who said, I've asked the same question. They went, oh, I just thought about it in the shower before I started, or I had one guy the other day who had decided not to think about it until we pressed record.
Yes.
And that was
Courageous.
interesting, very courageous, but he pulled it off completely. It was brilliant. But it was like, there is everything in between, right? Everything in between. So I like the way you've approached it. I think it's very, very, very good. All right. Well, listen, should we get started? Who would be number 1 on the list?
So the 2 first one, I will put my parents, and I will explain why. So my mom, which I've lost now 2 years ago, I would say I put her in the list for many things, but for one main thing, for the discipline, and I explain why. So you ask me, oh, you might speak many languages, etc. So it's really thanks to her, and I'm fascinated, and I'm still fascinated by her discipline. So she was born in Switzerland, so she speaks Swiss, German, and German. She wanted to travel when she was 18, and she came from a very small village in one of the the first canton in Switzerland, so very traditional. So you can imagine in the mountain, 600 people in the 1960s, something like that. She said at the age of 18, I want to travel to make a travel, and she saw in the newspaper, she saw Israel. So she went to Israel. She learned Hebrew. She fell in love with the country, the language, and my father. They come back to Switzerland. It was surely tough for them. My father was a Jewish Tunisian coming back to this small village was not possible. So they went to France. When they went to France, they said, you cannot teach your children or speak with your children 3 languages. Because at that time, the pediatrician was saying, it's too much, it's hard, so you have to make a choice. So she made a choice of speaking with us Hebrew, and then we were learning French outside. But Hebrew was not her language. So I saw her whole life with one dictionary, but not a fancy app like now we have so many apps, Duolingo and all the things that make it so funny. She had a whole torn page dictionary, and what she was doing every day, she was learning a bit. And I saw her fulfilling notebooks of words and things, asking questions. And at the end, she became so good in Hebrew that there were people calling at home to speak with her, to ask her the roots of a word and what could be the signification, etc. She became a master. And by the way, she teach to my sister and I Hebrew because my father was speaking French.
Incredible.
So I learned this ability of being disciplined on some topic and trying to learn on a really like daily.
Yeah. And a deep level, like let's say a mastery level.
Yes.
Can I ask you a couple of things about that? I mean, we can continue with her, but I just want to jump in with a couple of questions because, I mean, that's some commitment to your father's heritage.
Yes.
And to choose, I mean, people talk about the mother tongue. The mother tongue is meant to be the mother's first language,
Yes.
not the mother's inherited language
Yes.
by marriage.
Yes.
So that is such a sacrifice that says, I agree. I think a child trying to grow up multilingually does need to be rooted in one language. I mean, I know this. I only know this kind of philosophically. My children know English, and that's it. Because, like a typical English person, we don't tend to learn anything else. But it's like I do understand the concept of a single primary language, and for her to dedicate so much time, and I imagine Hebrew's not easy. You know, it's an ancient language. I bet it's really complex and difficult and very alien. Well, more alien than, say, I don't know, French and English has a lot of crossover words. German and English has a lot of crossover words. But I can't imagine there are many crossover words between, you know, Swiss, French, and Hebrew. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know the language at all.
I would say, I'm not sure, and it's not easy to speak about languages you have learned as a child. So because you never can really say if they were difficult or not. But I always say German is super tough language for the people who learn it from childhood. It's not a tough language. But I would say Hebrew is not so complex from the structural part. Then it's not the same alphabet, etc. So but I would say it's less complicated. She learned to write it. I speak it only. I don't write it. So writing is much more complex because it's a different alphabet and all the things. But I would also say that I don't think she has made this choice like for my father. She has made this choice because she falls in love with the country, the culture, the language, and the passion of learning. So I believe it was not like a sacrifice. It was something she loved, and she go inside. It was one of her passion.
Okay, that's a good reframe because I guess I was thinking about it from a mother's investment into her children and the creation of a family and having that family have an identity. I suppose that's where my mind went.
It might be also part of it. But I think one of the things was our love for this language. The learning process.
How amazing. And so she had this love of language. She had this love of Hebrew and Israel. What did she do did she have a career at the same time as all of this? Or was she dedicated her time to her children?
she dedicated her time to her children, and then she worked with my father. They were having a small business that she did not like really. They were selling shoes. So she did not like it in particular.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? Are you gonna put your dad and mum in the same category
Yes.
here? So we got
So I say, and it goes end to end. I put my dad for he had another very high quality, which is confidence.
Mhm.
Uh, and they were very complementary. So when I look back, I say, if I can take those two things, it will help me dramatically in my life.
Yeah.
And so my father, I choose confidence. Why I choose him is of this confidence. He was always believing. He's still, I mean, now it's 78 years old, and he will have the same mindset. He always believed that the next 30 minutes will be better than the previous one.
Wow.
And I saw him in situation. I saw even seen our photos from that. They travel a lot. We changed. We went from houses to houses, different countries, and all things. So there were times where they had two children, young children, maybe 3 years old, and they had no more money with them, and they didn't know where they are going to sleep. And he was still believing he will find a flat in Paris, and everything will be better, and everything went better. But the ability to believe in that was really, really strong.
Amazing.
So if you come with a dream and you say, and that's also part of what happened to me, I said to my father, I have a dream, I want to do that in the sport, etc. He does not calculate the risk and all the things. Do you really want to do it? Go for it.
You know, your dad had this confidence not only in himself, but also the future will be better. And I've never heard it framed like that before, this idea that the next 30 minutes will be better than the prior one. And that's such a delightful thought and a way of being. I mean, we all, I think in a broad sense, we all hope that the future is better than the past we've experienced. I think that's an expectation from most people, is like, okay, if I've had this rough time here, it's going to improve and time will heal all wounds. And we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And generally speaking, we all hope that the future is better than the past. But equally also know that it's not a truth. It's not a linear path. I mean, history is littered with, things going forward and then regressing and forward and then regressing. And if you look at children now, I mean, I've got a friend of mine who's expecting his first child, and he's genuinely worried about the future he's bringing his child into, which is incredibly sad, actually. But I see his point. He doesn't, we can't guarantee that there's going to be a brighter future. But to have a mentality of even the next 30 minutes is going to be better than the last 30 minutes. I love that, because I think it gives you something tangible and I don't know. It feels like it's in more control. I can actually affect the next 30 minutes far more than I can 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in this moment. So no, I love that. And actually, I've just realized that's probably why you saved all that money as well, because you're thinking, I'm going to make sure that I'm improving myself through personal development, but also financial development, so that the future can be a little bit more in my control. There's probably a link there somewhere. But no, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the framing of that, this 30-minute thing. I really like that.
Yeah. I think it's, again, if we come back to what we have said at the beginning, we all understand the concept. Then I think it's a decision. If you make this decision to believe that the future will be better, you don't ask yourself this question for every decision. You always believe it will be better.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we don't care if you are right or wrong. Then you live better your moment. If I look back to their life, I will surely not take the level of risk they have taken with children and all the things. It's now it looks like completely crazy, maybe also with the time we are living in. But in the same time, the idea and the concept and the philosophy behind, I love it. I love that.
Such a great combination of qualities as well. Like I say, very complementary between your mum and your dad there. So yeah. Is your mum still? No, your mum passed away. Is your dad still
Yes,
with us?
yes, yes, yes.
You still
He's
have your father.
78 years
Oh
old.
yes, you did mention that.
And he
You did
still
mention.
lives the same type of life, living big dreams, trying to take doing things which looks like impossible, but doing his best to achieve it.
Oh, I love that. I love people. I love people with, I call it beans. Lots of beans. You know, lots of energy, lots of ambition, lots of what wishing to keep going with ideas and I don't know, squeeze every last drop out of this life of ours. That's how I feel anyway. I just want to get to the end and go, whew, that was good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Is there anything more you want to say about your parents before we move on to
No,
number
I think
two?
it's yeah. No, I could say a lot more,
Of
but
course.
against that.
Yeah. But two very good themes there. I enjoyed that very much. Thank you. All right. Number two then, please, on your list.
Okay, so I took something different than a person. I took the 10. So I took karate, which is the sport karate. And the reason is when I was 18, maybe the link, I wanted to, it was even before I was 18. I was 16, by the way. I fall in love with karate and I wanted to become, I had big dreams about karate. I wanted to succeed in karate. And to the point where I said to my parents, I will stop studying and I would start doing karate full time. And my mother was completely panicked. And my father said, ask you a question and say, are you really sure? Are you ready to put the things in? Go for it. So I went for it. And it was a very, very, very nice experience. I built dreams about it. I put a lot of risks, stopped my study. I put the work on it. I haven't succeeded. So not at the level I was expected. So I had quite a lot of success, but not what I was dreaming of. I wanted to become world champion. I haven't succeeded. And I got injured and all of the things, but I think it was a very, very important part of my life because coming back to the discipline and to the confidence and to the ability of taking risk and to believing that it will be okay, even though it doesn't work, has brought me a lot in my personal and professional life. So yeah.
And what belt did you get to? Obviously, black belt. Did you get to black belt?
Yes, you get to black belt. What I was interested in is competition, karate competition, and you have the kata part, which is the very technical part, and you have the fight part. I was more in the fight part. So yes, I get a black belt, but this one everyone could get it. But the things I was very interested in is fight competition.
Wonderful. I have some experience with karate myself, not personally. I'm one of my dear friends who I've known for 40 years. Nihal, if you're listening. He was a black belt by age 12.
Wow.
And he's a black belt third dan
Yes.
now. And he taught for a long time. And I had this great ambition that my son was going to be this big karate champion too. Because he took him under his wing. So Nihal took my son to the karate lessons. And it was like, for me, watching Connor learn karate was like watching somebody learn to dance. I mean, it was unbelievably poetically beautiful to watch the katas and the movement and everything. And he was so good at it, Connor, that we just thought, this is it. He's going to be a karate guy. And then one day, he was probably only about 9 or 10 years old. He just said, I'm not doing it anymore. 1 second, I just need to deal with this dog again. What do you want? Come up here. Watch this. She sits up here now, Dror. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I see her. She's part of the podcast now.
She is now part of the pod. I mean, look at this. Utterly ridiculous, this dog. Sorry, I just had to show you that. So yeah, and he just announced that he wasn't doing it anymore. And I don't know who was more heartbroken, me or Nihal. But he just stopped and put all his effort into basketball. He became a really good basketball player. But I was so disappointed because there was something about karate that's so sublime. It's like, yes, there's the fighting aspect. And of course, there is competitiveness in that. There is an element of winning and losing. But the kata bit, to watch that is like, it's incredibly beautiful to watch when you see it done well. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for the discipline of it, the beauty of it, the history, and I suppose the core principle of using your energy to avoid conflict. I really like that about karate. It's about avoiding the punch, isn't it? As opposed to landing the punch. It's that kinetic thing of just using your own energy to against your opponent. So what happened then? So you got to a certain level and you just stopped, or
Yeah, no. So I got injured, and then the
mm,
competition was much more difficult. And we start too early. I got even more injured, etc. So at one point, I say what I will do if I cannot do any more the competition. So I started to think as an entrepreneur. I think my parents, my father was an entrepreneur, so I think I had that in me also. So I started to teach karate, and I built even two dojo,
oh
which are still
wow,
existing in the area of Paris. And it was very nice. I loved it. In the same time, something was missing. I did it for surely the adrenaline of the competition, and I understood that it was not. It's not what I want to do for the rest of
mm,
my life, like teaching.
mm,
So that's where I started to ask myself what I will do next, and I I I I say, okay, my parents were entrepreneurs. I was always asking myself what people are doing with all those tie and all those big buildings. So I said I would love to touch the the corporate world.
yeah,
And so the idea was I don't have a specific diploma, etc. So how could I enter it? And by design, I enter from the sales part, and then sales part is a career path where if you get good result, you can compensate a lot of things. So
yeah,
then I grew inside the company, and then I restart my study and make to a business school and all the things, and then continue my career from there. So
mm,
coming back to the things, the view of my father. For my mother, for example, it was, oh, if you stop the study now, it's a catastrophe and all the things. From the view of my father, you will find your way. And so he
yeah,
was right, if we say that.
yeah. And from your mother again, this idea of deep mastery of something. You can't get to that level of competence with karate on as we say in England, winging it, which
Yeah.
means just, you know, having a go. You have to build it piece by piece by piece and deeply, deeply study, which again makes me think of your mum learning Hebrew the way she did.
Yes, the
And
discipline I've learned from my mother
yeah,
was a very big component of the karate path.
mm,
And you spoke about the principle of karate, which is a martial art. It's also a lot around respect. It's also a lot about this discipline. It's also a lot about learning and learning
mm,
from scratch and repeating the same thing, practice. So
yeah.
all those things were very, very helpful for my career, my life, my professional and personal life.
And Connor, if you're listening, please take up karate again. This is your mother speaking. Please, please. You were, I would have been so happy. No, as he likes to say to me, Mum, your dreams are not my dreams. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it when he says that, but he's right. He
But
is
he's right.
right.
And that's interesting also about the dreams. When I was 18 or 19 or 20, it was 1994. I was doing karate, and I saw like the competition. You may have heard about this competition, the UFC competition,
Mhm.
where a big fight, etc. And I saw there was a guy doing what in martial art is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I
Okay.
was so impressed. It was 33 years before. I was so impressed by his ability, and I said, oh, I want to learn that, and I haven't done it. And this year, I've started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 33 years later. It means that when you have an idea or when you have a passion, it's something that is in you. So now it's
Yeah,
a passion for me, and I dedicate a lot of time to try to learn this art. And we need to follow what we believe in, or we want to do, or what we know at one point in our life. And no
definitely.
one can tell us that. we find it.
We find it. Lower back to your dad's point, everything will be fine. You'll find your way. And that Brazilian jiu-jitsu, they say that's the ultimate martial art, don't they? They say it's the one that incorporates everything and probably the best for your fitness and strength. So I think that's a good choice, Dror. I think you should continue with that and keep me posted on your development there.
Yes.
Super. All right. So that was karate. What about number 3? What's that going to be? Person or a theme?
Let's go for a person.
All right.
Going back to uh, leadership and business and life. So I would say I had maybe 10 or 11 bosses, and I remember I don't know many of them, but one of my boss, who uh, which was really specific. I said before him, I surely had a lot of managers, and often we have managers. Some of them were good, some of them were less good. But he was on board dying the leadership concept. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, and I remember the reason why I put him into the list. At one point, I was already a managing director of a country. So I was leading a P&L, more than 70 people, 20 million of business, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And he became my boss. And he took a region with several boss like me, some bigger than me, some smaller, different countries, etc. Very complex perimeter. And we came out from a restructuration, and it was a difficult time. And first meeting where we met him, we could not even meet him physically. It was a conf call. So I said, what can you do from there? So different languages, different culture, different size, level of development, market, pressure. So what he will do from that? And it was even not a long conf call, but I still remember. Instead of telling us what he wants to do or introducing himself or whatever lot of things, he just asked one question to all of us, collect the information, and that was the starting point of us building what we are going to do as a team. And he built a very strong team from this event, which was not easy at all. So I've always read a lot about trust, open leadership, human collaboration, being humble. And he was like the first one who I said, wow, okay, that can make really a difference.
Super. Well, first of all, thank you for reminding me of conference calls. I've almost forgotten about them. Do you remember those? You had to dial in a number.
And then this tool in the middle of the table.
Yeah. And then you press this number up, followed by the hash key.
Yes.
And I used to find those things so stressful because I nearly always got it wrong because there's a lot of numbers usually.
Yeah.
And then you had all that, nonsense where everyone's going, can you hear me? Are you joined? And it'll be like, Julia Duthie has joined the meeting. Obviously, we've taken Teams and Zoom and everything so for granted since COVID, haven't we? We can't even imagine that old technology now. So thank you for reminding me of that. I love the idea of I've had many managers, but this was my first leader. And I think the difference between management and leadership is so profound. It's a very, very different relationship. And I agree with your summary of the key things there, with trust being the main one. So I talk about this quite a lot in my day-to-day, which is, this idea of trust, the filtering of information, whether you trust someone or not, is massive. If I don't trust you and you ask me a question, my brain will be going 100 miles an hour thinking about where is this going? What are they going to use this information for? Etc. It could be the most benign question. If I don't trust you, I am going to be, really processing that like crazy to try and work out what's the best answer that's going to cause either the least harm to me or keep this person in favor. Whereas if you truly trust someone and you trust their intent, you're just wide open to receiving whatever they say in the best intentions. And therefore you can learn and you can flourish under that. But I think a lot of people who have people responsibility try and skip over that phase, and I think there's no substitute for it. You can't just ask for it. You can't just say, I want trust, please. You have to earn it. It's an obvious statement, but you have to earn it, and that takes time and commitment. And I think that is the fundamental difference between leaders and managers. They build that trust relationship.
I remember speaking about this leader, about trust. So Marshall Goldsmith is saying something. He said, when someone presents you an idea, if you are the boss, if you have a way to improve it by 10%, and you don't believe it will make a big difference, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Let him go with his idea, because
Yeah.
the 5 to 10% you are going to win with your improvement of the idea will reduce his commitment and
Yeah.
potentially the trust on the relationship.
Yeah.
And I
Totally agree.
remember this boss, for example, when I was planning something complex, I was saying, okay, let me show you that. Yeah, I'm showing you. He would ask me a few questions. I'm sure he has some idea because he was very clever, or potentially can I improve it a bit, no? But his only word was, looks good, go for it.
Mm.
And that's build trust, which meant I could go very, very far for this boss,
Yeah.
this organization, much more than someone who will improve a bit my idea, but will discuss every topic, or he will not even
Yeah.
listen to what I have to present and believe he has a better idea and all the thing. So the concept of trust and showing and demonstrating trust, again, it's very practical. People are feeling it in practical things.
Yeah.
And that's what is interesting, is that it's behavioral. You can, if you agree that you don't give enough trust to your people, and if you
Yeah.
agree that you discuss every point with your people, and you shouldn't most of the time, then you can work on a behavior to change.
Yep.
Changing a behavior as an agent is one of the most difficult things to do. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what I do with the coaching. We
Yeah.
select one behavior, not me selecting a behavior for the leader, not the leader selecting a behavior for him. We ask his stakeholder. Then he selects one behavior that he believes will be better for him, for the team, for the business.
Yeah.
And then he will work 1 year to
On
try
that one
to change
thing.
it.
Yeah.
And then the aim is, I'm so convinced about this approach that at the end, the leader will pay me only if he succeeds. And
Yeah.
success is defined by his stakeholder.
Yeah. I love that model. Now, I do know a bit about Marshall Goldsmith. I've had a number of your colleagues on this, and I think it's no coincidence that it's that you guys are featuring quite heavily, because the subject matter is people are everything, right? And I mean,
Yes.
of course, I'm going to have a lot of people who dedicate their lives to helping other people be their optimal selves. So I tend to have a lot of people-centric guests, and those common themes of you know, I suppose what I like about Marshall Goldsmith that is refreshing from the common themes of normal coaching is this idea of the stakeholder will decide on the success. I think that's so powerful, because otherwise we're just marking our own homework, aren't we?
Yeah. So for example, in the coaching world, I do the trust advisor part, which is a different thing. And I think it brings also value. But we cannot judge if we are improving into these things, because the person itself will have this self-view,
Yeah.
and then I have only one part of the story. So I think this trust advisory work best for helping to decide, helping to think about opportunity, difficulties, topics, brainstorming. If we want really to put some result on it, bringing the stakeholder around the
Yeah.
table is surely one of the best ways.
I love it. All right. So here's to your inspirational boss. I don't suppose you've avoided naming him, but I'll
No, I can. It's Kim Anderson.
Kim Anderson.
Yes.
Right. Well, I hope you share this segment with Kim,
will.
and hopefully he's pleased to receive it. Okay, brilliant. All right. Well, who's number 4, please?
So I put the last 2 on some authors. So I'm a big reader, and big things in my life has changed through books. And I make reading like very practical. So I don't know, maybe I've lost count, but I've read surely more than 500 books. I'm always reading,
Wow.
daily reading. But some of them will remain like very strong in my mind. And so 2 authors, one is Covey.
Stefan.
Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Covey. Covey as a French and Francis as a French. And I love books where there is story behind. So I was 18. And I was going to the supermarket with my sister and my brother-in-law. and we need to buy some stuff. And at the entry of this big supermarket, there was the library. So I went to the library part and I saw this book. I never heard about it. And I started to sit and just start to look about the pages. And I could not let it down. So 1 hour after they come and it says still there. And I was hesitating. It was price in France, in franc at that time. I was hesitating, should I buy it or should I not buy it, etc. I bought this book and it has really changed my life because I read it more than 10 times at different period of my life. And each time I was going more deep inside those concepts, and some of those concepts are daily with me. And including now with my coaching, they have been big part of my leadership when I was a leader. And they are a big part of my coaching, and they are a big part of my philosophy. Like, for example, try to seek first to understand, then to be understood. This concept has helped me so much in my life. And it's so simple. I love principle. I love concepts which are simple to understand and difficult to apply, and could be applied in so many situations. I was very successful in sales thanks to the concept. The ability to work with people was thanks to this concept. Working with your personal relation is thanks to this concept. So I really love it, and this book has made a big difference in life.
I mean, it's a huge, huge book, really, isn't it? It's one of the sort of, I don't know. I read it a long time ago, and I think it was the same time I was reading, I know, Malcolm Gladwell books and things like that. You know, the whole 10,000 hours things. There's certain things that stick with you.
Yes.
So I think that's, and also this idea of a number of things that we can remember. So the 7 habits, or the 5 this, or I think Stephen started all of that too, didn't he? I think that was very much a way of breaking down complex ideas and principles into sort of bite-sized, adoptable chunks of behavior change. And I think it's kind of I think the impact of that book has gone far and wide. But I'm just wondering for myself if I've ever adopted any of those principles. Really, I would like to say I have. I'm a little bit intuitive in my life, a little bit maverick. I can be more of a sensing person than a practical person. So I think, we would probably have a lot of conflict between you and I if we worked together, or we could be super complementary. But certainly that making sure you understand before you kind of take something forward and express something yourself. Even recently, I caught myself not doing that, and I was so cross with myself. I was like, you didn't take the time to understand the problem, and you went straight ahead with what you assumed was the answer. And I know that that's not the right thing to do, but it's like, it's one thing to read something. It's another thing to completely imbue it in yourself and become that, making that behavioral change that becomes who you are. And I think, even reading 500 books, again, that's not typical. That's not a typical approach to life. So I'm going to keep asking you the same question. Where did that come from? Is that a love of reading came from? Were you read to a lot as a child? Did you? I don't know. Is this the way you discover the world? Is it all fiction? Is it non-fiction? Is there? I mean, there's so much I want to know about those 500 books.
I believe the books came from. I took this decision to stop studying on my school when I was 16, but I love learning, and I surely don't love when I have some stuff around me. But I love to learn by myself. And I remember the first things when I stopped studying is I started to read everything inside what was in my house. And there were so different books of fictional, non-fictional, but really everything. And then I discovered the self-help book, or this motivation, psychology, communication, and all the things. So like the Stephen Covey book, which I discovered by chance, by luck. And then I fall into. I really love the idea of how can I improve myself every day. So it's surely linked. So if we come back now to what I was saying in my mother learning Hebrew in the kitchen every day with a book, that's surely part of it. And then all the other influence in my life. I think trying to improve myself is really learning is the meta things I love is learning. So really,
Mm.
clearly, any topic I'm addressing now more and more as I understand what I love is when I love a topic. Like for example, now I fall in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've read 12 books about it. I go to the gym also, obviously. But I
Yeah.
love the idea of learning around the philosophy, history, the concept, the best one who are practicing it, champions their life and all those things. I love this idea. So learning is big part of my life.
Well, I've just picked up another theme that you may or may not agree with, Dror, but there's a couple of things have come to mind. One is you seem to want to do things your way.
Yes.
So, like you say, when I decided to stop learning, I then started really learning. This is how it's landed on me, which
Yes.
is, yeah, you keep your structured learning.
Yeah.
I will find my own library. I will find my own interests. I will dedicate my life to being a lifelong learner, but on my terms, the things that I am interested in. That is the same to me. Feels very similar to when you came off the hamster wheel of corporate life. It's like, yeah, I'm done with that now. I'm now going to take my own path from here onwards. So I think that's probably where you and I do intersect. This slight kind of, I don't know, the sort of mild rebellion against conformity that says I'm going to do it this way. So I think that's probably where we do have the same instinct for life. But no, I love that, and I think books. What are they? They're a window into other people's lives, history, science. How the world works, how the brain works. It's a window that offers something of great, deep knowledge and understanding. And my son's only. I keep picking on him today, but here we are. My son's only read one book. Right, one book. I bought in The Tattoo of Auschwitz about 5 years ago. And he went, "Oh, it's a great book. Oh, Mum, I loved that book. It was such a great book. Thank you for sharing that with me." And I thought, yes, I've got his attention. He's going to be a lifelong reader now. No books since then, not one book. And it upsets me a bit because I just think reading has been such a big deal for me too. And this generation, and I'm generalizing, but this generation they're so wanting the quick soundbite, the quick, immediate hit of something. To dedicate, what does it take to read a book? A modest book is 9 hours.
Yes.
If you think about it, most books are about 8 to 9 hours of reading time. Sometimes a lot more, sometimes a bit less. But as a commitment of time, way more than watching a movie. Probably maybe akin to watching a box set, which they might do. But of course, TikTok is 30 seconds. And they can sit and doom scroll that over and over and over again. But I keep saying to them, to immerse yourself in a book is like is a window into somebody else's mind, in somebody else's world, other worlds. I mean, it's an amazing immersive experience. And I feel like it might be a little bit lost on this current generation. Do your kids read? Do they read books?
So I am the same. My son is 16 years old, and I have the same point. I haven't. He hasn't took with books right now. But I still believe, like maybe that's come from my father. Next 30 minutes would be better. I still believe he will. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of him finding what he loves, and I hope I really hope, and in the same time, if he does not, then that's okay also. It will be his part. He will find another way of seeing life and learning in life in a different way. What I really believe in books is, even if I compare the rationale of the TikTok part and all, I think at the end, the book is, I see it as the fastest way to learn, because the person who was write the book, whatever a good book or not a good book, he has taken at least 6 to few years
Yeah.
to come to a point where he try to arrange the idea in the most logical part.
Yes.
And so I will take 3 to 9 hours to read this book and take the maximum of his thought. So for example, when I love someone and I'm hearing him into a podcast, I love to hear, but I love to buy his book
Yeah.
read the book, because then I will get much more deeper inside his way of thinking, and
Yeah.
then I will learn faster.
Yeah.
So I still believe, compared to the new generation tool and all the things, that you learn faster. It looks like on appearance that you lose more time, but you learn faster when you go deeper into the topic of the book.
That's a great point. Connor, if you're listening, that's a really great point that Dror's just made. Please pay attention. He's going to kill me.
And coming back to what you said, where we have a common point is, my name, Dror,
Uh-huh.
means freedom.
Really?
Symbolically, it means it's a small bird that can live only free. You cannot put him in a cage. And you're right. It's incredible. I will have difficulty if someone telling me to read something,
Mm-hmm.
and I will read 12 books on the topic I say I want to read.
Yeah.
So it's not always the bad things. When I restart studying, I also enjoy doing things, because I discover things when I was request to read things or to do a business case or something. I learn also a lot of things. But my first tendency is to believe I will find a better way to learn.
Yeah.
And so I need to be cautious on that one.
No, well, it seems to be working for you anyway. So I think probably carry on with whatever you're doing. Seems to be working. Well, I mean, we've done Stephen Covey, so I would put that in the category of sort of self-help, self-development, and very sort of obviously a non-fiction book. Is the second author a fiction writer, or who are you going? You said you had another one.
Yes, so when I thought about the list, I thought about things that has changed my life, and that's true an author and a person also. So we have already mentioned it. When I was a leader, I was reading already a lot, and I read the book "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Yeah.
And at that time, I was leading a 10 million business, and I was fascinated by the book. I said, "Oh," and that's Marshall Goldsmith, and I discovered the main behavioral mistake we do as leaders, and I recognize myself in many of them. So my first insight, when I do that often when I wrote book, I wrote to Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Often people do not answer me, but Marshall answered me. He loves email. I discovered that later. He's really answering people. So we start to have a type of correspondence, and so when I had questions, he was answering me, and I grew a lot as a leader. I won't say that it's everything thanks to what this correspondence with Marshall, but I learned a lot. So at one point, my heroes were books, authors who was touch coaching, or where coaching was part of their life. That's where the idea of saying I will become a coach become real for me. So 10 years or more of relation, and when I started to say, okay, now how I will learn myself coaching, I did the traditional paths like the International Coaching Federation. I'm a professional certified coach. But I also went to Marshall and I said, okay, now I'm ready. Help me. And he mentored me as to become a coach. So that's again a life-changing book. More than the book is the person behind.
Yes,
And Covey was already died when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, I do love that. I love the idea of it being more than a method. It's, I don't know, the people I speak to who are involved with Marshall Goldsmith, they're very very quick to sort of eulogize about him. They talk about him in such a warm way, and I hear this a lot, not just for his genius, but who he is. And I've met Brandon. So Brandon Mergard, and it's like, who's the CEO of Marshall Goldsmith Consulting. And a similar thing there. People talk about him with such passion and such enthusiasm. So, he is onto something. He's definitely onto something. And I think there are a few people you can say that genuinely change worldview. But I think his approach to coaching is changing the landscape of coaching. It's changing the way people approach it. And from what I've seen so far, it's extremely positive. So he has cropped up before. I want to meet him. I think he'll meet me. I'll try and get him on my podcast.
Yes, you can.
I could always try, couldn't I? I'll ask Brandon, see if he can sort it out. Okay, so you know, are we putting Marshall as number 5, or is he part of authorship
Yes.
in number 4?
No. We can
He
put
can have his own spot.
yes. Yeah, we can put it here.
All right, good. Listen, honestly, there's so many. This segment now is where I sort of ask us both to reflect over the 5 people and think about the kind of the themes running through it. But we sort of touched on that as we've gone through it, through the conversation. But it's clear to me, if I was to take a stab at summarizing some of these key influences on who the person you are now, it is that attention to detail, that commitment to craft. It is, very few people seek mastery. We talk about it a lot, all of us, but very few people actually commit to mastery of anything. Even if you don't get there, you are wanting to get there, which I think is extremely rare as an ambition. The kind of methodical approach that you take to things and how you actually really want to know things. It's not like I'm somebody who knows a lot of things on a very surface level. I'm a great dinner party guest because I always have something. I can always speak into something. But I don't have any single subject that I would say I'm an expert in. And probably if I had to be pushed on that point, I probably would say leadership, but not to the level you are, not to the level of studying it to the level you do. So to me, one of the core themes that's coming through here is this idea of substance. I really want to know something is how I'm hearing it. And I'm going to dedicate the time and I'm going to become not just okay at it. I'm going to seek to be great at it. So that's something that's coming through for me. But now that we've talked, is there anything that's surprised you or you can see now the pattern, or actually you just want to comment on a theme that I haven't mentioned that you are aware of from the influence of these 5 people?
At one point, you mentioned, I don't know if it's a comment or it's just something that I asked during the conversation, and you say if we were working together, maybe we won't match on many things.
Yeah.
And one concept I really that has touched me really deeply is we often have this idea that, okay, different people cannot potentially work together. And Stephen Covey is explaining into the idea of seeking first to understand and to be understood, that it takes only one person to change the scope. So even when you do not fit with people, one of them needs to take the responsibility to make this relation working. And one is enough. Often, like children, I have 2 children, so they will always say, oh, it's Theodore, oh, it's Lily, oh, it's Theodore. If one takes the responsibility, the other will follow and they will create a great relation. And I believe any relation could become an interesting one, even if we may be different and all the things. If we have something common, we can work on it. So that's one of the things I catch when we were discussing and say, you surely can take the responsibility and we can have a great relation, or I can take the responsibility. So we can definitively work together.
Oh, very good. Well, let's see. No, I get what you mean. It's like it's somebody saying, when I hear you say take responsibility, how it lands on me is somebody has to want it to work, and the other person will just, go along with that energy.
Yes.
Will find their place in that dynamic because the intent is there.
Yes.
They want to. The one person out of the 2 sees something and says, "Let's just try this. Let's just see where this goes." And again, I'm sorry to loop that back to your dad's philosophy, but it comes back to that again, doesn't it? Let's just see how it goes. Try it. Everything's going to be better. So let's just try. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, brilliant. Well, I've learned a lot today, Dror. I knew I would. I'm sorry for taking up most of your time for my personal development. This feels like a free coaching session to me and everyone listening today. But no, I knew it would be a conversation of depth. I knew it would have a real quality of content. I knew I would come away with things to think about. So I'm very grateful for you for that. What's next for you? What are you going to be focusing on with all this 500 books of knowledge and your newfound passion for jiu-jitsu and coaching. Is there anything else that's on the horizon for you? Anything else you want to spend your time with?
No, I'm also a man of focus. So clearly, I'm really so. My new lifestyle is I'm working 4 to 6 hours a day, and I'm
Okay.
dedicating it in between writing. I do have one post every day on LinkedIn, and I have
Mm-hmm.
a website where there is more than 400 articles around leadership, personal development, communication, all those type of topics. And I have a newsletter every Wednesday morning that goes out. So I'm having 1 to 2 hours of writing every day, and then I'm having 2 or 3 hours of coaching every day, and I'm dedicating myself to that one. And
Wonderful.
on the side of that, I do things I love, like being with my family and enjoying one passion, which is I love jiu-jitsu actually, and I also love chess. So I love to play chess. So that's the things. That's how I enjoy my life. And coming back to the beginning of our conversation, everything is possible thanks to the design I put on my financial life.
Mhm.
The way that I dare to go to coaching without knowing it was not my stuff. Could I live into this area, etc. So now that's exactly what I do. That's
Mm,
where I dedicate my time.
I love it. I and hats off to you for that intention and actually making it happen for yourself. And interesting, you put chess on the list. Again, another mastery, difficult thing to get. We can all play chess we know where the pieces are, how they move. We can all start, most children can play chess,
Yes.
but to play it properly, that takes a lot of dedication as well. So I'm not surprised at all that that's another thing that you another pursuit that you love. And before we get to the last question, then where can people find you then if they want to read your newsletter? So obviously LinkedIn, we
Yes,
can put you on there.
the easiest path will be to go to Dror Allouche on LinkedIn. And the second path will be if you go to Google and you just Google my name, you will find my blog,
Your web.
my
Okay.
website, which is Options to Grow.
Options to grow.
To Grow. That's my website.
All right. And Dror Allouche, DRORALLOUCHE.
Yes.
Yes. Fabulous. All right. Well, listen, we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
So before you go, I really hope you've thought about this last question, which is my way of finding additional fabulous people to talk to, which is who shall I speak to next and why?
So we just mentioned Marshall. I would suggest you try to have him on your podcast.
All right. Oh, good luck with that for me.
I would say it would be interesting to hear him, like the boss I mentioned, Kim Anderson.
Yeah.
I would love to hear him inside your podcast.
All right.
And
there's 2 targets there then. Is there any others?
No, if things come to my mind, I will send you.
Let me know. Super. All right. Well, listen, Marshall, I've spoken about you so much now, and I've met so many of your key people. I think it's time. It's time, Marshall. You and I need to chat because I want to get to know. Wouldn't it be great to know who he chooses? I just think that would be fascinating for everybody because that's one of my key drivers. As I'm always wanting to look behind the person.
Yes.
And someone said that to me the other day. So the thing about you, Julia, is you never just want the conversation. You want the conversation behind the conversation.
Yeah, in the conversation.
And I'm just hardwired like that. So I think having him on the podcast, I'd love to know who his 5 are and what drew him to create such an incredible body of work. So yes, if you're listening, Marshall, expect an email from me because apparently you like email. And Kim, if you're listening, likewise, let's have a conversation. It'd be fascinating. If Dror has chosen you, then that's high praise indeed, and I'd like to get to know you. All right, thank you so much for today, Dror. As I say, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned a lot. The thing I've underlined 3 times is there is still time. This is my personal note to me. There is still time, Julio. Underline, underline, underline. So I've taken that to heart. So thank you so much for today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Have a good day. End of the day.
The wonderful Dror Allouche there. What a lovely, lovely conversation that was. And so, I don't know, packed full of wisdom. I suppose that's the word that comes to mind. If you like that, please like, subscribe, comment, all the things you're meant to do on social media, apparently. And just let me know that you're liking what you're hearing. Next week we have Dan Sittner. Now, Dan, well, what can I say? Many things. Grew up in Portland. Had what anybody would say was an idyllic childhood. This shaped, I think, the man he is today. I think he's somebody who believes in paying forward his good fortune. And what else comes through this conversation with him, you'll come to hear, is his deep, deep faith. And it's the first person I've spoken to so far that's actually put Jesus on as number 5, as one of their 5. So, yeah. That kind of took me by surprise, but actually, when you come to hear the conversation and the context it's in, makes perfect sense. So enjoy your week ahead, and you can look forward to next week meeting Dan Sittner. Until then, please take care. See you. Bye.